Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Melissa Morey, and I am the principal of NP3 High School. It is an honor to be here today, joined by three of our incredible and inspiring juniors from NP3. We have Morgan Flourny, Kristeen Oberoi, and Leilani Morris. Today, these three students will present their Soapbox speeches. These are pieces that they wrote and delivered in our social justice class last month. At NP3, the 11th grade social justice course is a required class for all of our students. In the class, students engage deeply with the Constitution, not only as a legal document, but as a living framework. It's a framework where they look at race, culture, and collective action, and how those have continually shaped the debates about justice. Students examine how the Constitution functions, both as the foundation of our government and as a safeguard for their individual freedoms. The Soapbox speeches that you'll hear are the culminating assignment for their constitutional law unit. For this project, students chose an issue that they care deeply about, one that connects to constitutional rights and protections, and they developed a speech that reflects their research, their perspective, and their voice. What you are about to hear will represent not only their understanding of the Constitution and the rule of law, but also their willingness to engage with the complex issues and to speak out on topics that matter to them. So it is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Morgan Flourny.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Morgan Flourny, and I'm honored to speak before you today on the issue of political polarization. Former Governor of Oklahoma, Brad Henry, once said, "There is too much at stake for us to surrender to the politics of polarization." At a time when this country is faced with its most serious and consequential constitutional issues, birthright citizenship, executive branch overreach, censorship of free speech, and redistricting of states, it is imperative that we, the people, stay united rather than divided. Yet all I see when I look around me is a country fractioned by hate, begging to be mended by hope. The Supreme Court of the United States, an institution supposedly bound by impartiality, is becoming partisan. With a 6-3 conservative majority, the court increasingly falls along partisan lines in cases such as Roe v. Wade and its applicability to women's reproductive rights, Louisiana v. Calais and its limiting of non-discriminatory voting right protections, and the abuse of the shadow docket. This goes to show how our court is beginning to be led by party preferences rather than the highest law in our land. As for the legislative branch, just this past November, our government experienced the longest federal shutdown in its history, lasting a total of 43 days and placing 750,000 federal workers on unpaid leave. Each side simply pushed the blame to the other side of the aisle, and rather than sit at the table to form a compromise, they threw the chairs. And this isn't just impacting our government either. It's impacting our society, our cities, our families, our friends. We are beginning to forget the things that we have in common and instead have a laser focus on our political differences. So take a step back. Determine what direction you want the country to be headed in. Stop being a party follower and instead be your own leader and a listener. If we act accordingly, perhaps there can be a future where progress is made, a future where the productiveness of Congress doesn't depend on which party wins the House or Senate, a future where everyday Americans can afford basic housing, groceries, and gas. The table is open. The chairs are there. We simply need to sit down and seek to understand, not seek to be understood. At the end of the day, we're all humans who want hope and justice. I see this in the way we've taken a stand on the fact that we will not be ruled. I see this in the way we fundraised for the LA fires, and I see this in the way we come together to honor victims of school shootings. So I beg of you, don't let our differences guide our future because no one is going to get what they want. Let our commonalities and humanity guide us. Say hello to the person sitting next to you and view them first as your friend and neighbor, not a potential opponent. Because democracy requires compromise, not contest. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. That was great. And we'll welcome the next speaker, Hello, everyone. My name is Leilani Morris, and today I'm going to be talking about reproductive rights. I would like you to imagine something for a second. Imagine yourself or someone you love not being ready financially, physically, or mentally to make an extremely life-changing decision. Imagine someone you love feeling trapped because they do not have access to what they need. We all know what it feels like to have decisions be made for us and not by us, but imagine something so life-changing and threatening being chosen for you and not by you. This is not just a hypothetical. People are being denied, dismissed, and deprived control over their own bodies. For nearly 50 years, Roe v. Wade protected the constitutional right to abortion under privacy and personal liberty, the 14th Amendment guaranteed. This was overturned by Dobbs v. Jackson in 2022, removing a federally protected right and allowing states to decide. This shift does not just change laws, but it changes lives. When a right that was once protected by the Constitution is taken away, it raises serious concerns about equal protection and personal liberty. The government is now able to interfere with personal medical procedures, limiting autonomy in a way that contradicts the principles of the Constitution. According to the CDC, Black women are 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women. This shows that abortion is not just about limiting procedures, but about limiting access to life-saving health care. Pregnancy is often minimized. While it can be a happy and celebratory moment, yes, that's not what it looks like for some. It's not easy. It's not temporary. It can cause chronic pain, hormonal changes, and even death. Mentally, it can lead to anxiety, postpartum depression, and trauma. In some cases, the individual and the baby can be harmed in the process. This is not just 9 months. Some may argue that you can give the baby up for adoption, but this just ignores everything the person giving birth has to go through. It assumes everyone has the money, the privilege, and the resources to even tolerate a birth. In some cases, giving birth in the U.S. can cost tens of thousands of dollars, whether it's a vaginal birth or a C-section, creating another barrier for those who are already struggling. This is not justice, this is not equality, not freedom, but control. Imagine something different. We're a country where healthcare is accessible in every single state, where people can make informed decisions about their own bodies the way that they choose, not the government, where lives aren't lost because someone didn't have enough money, a support system, or were not believed about their symptoms. This future is possible, but only if we continue to fight. Educate yourself, speak up, support organizations that advocate for reproductive rights, go to protests that donate to organizations like Planned Parenthood to fund education for sexual and reproductive health. Freedom should not depend on how much money or privilege you have. Rights should not be something that we have to fight to keep. Bans off our bodies. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kristeen Oberoi, and today I'm talking about a country that forgot how to listen. We call it political polarization, but that's too clean for something this messy. The First Amendment in the Constitution used a New York Times CO versus United States. In 1971, it protected us from censorship, gave us the right to challenge power and speak in rhymes and hymns, but somewhere along the way, it lost its voice. It became a place where we hide. Instead of using it to understand, we use it to be right. According to the Pew Research Center, 8 out of 10 Americans say that Democrats and Republicans can't agree on basic facts. 65% of Americans are tired of arguing, and a Johns Hopkins poll reveals that only 10% feel hopeful because all we see is black and white. The other side is Satan with his arms crossed tight. Now close your eyes. Imagine the United States the Founding Fathers dreamed of, a safe haven, a beacon of hope. As Abraham Lincoln once said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. And yet here we are, so focused on being the best, we forgot to be whole. Oh, we have 2 parties in our house, our mother and our father, and when they're always fighting, the children don't grow, they survive. On crumbs, on tension, on silence. That's louder than shouting. Even today, we're crawling back from the longest shutdown in the Department of Homeland Security. Transportation is delayed, emergency funds enacted. We're so focused on damage control, we're not fixing the issues that eat away our society and our institutions, like fleas that follow us everywhere we go. The common good has become collateral damage. We're not inheriting unity, we're inheriting division. But we, the people, have a chance to change. We are the most connected generation in history and somehow the most divided. We have voices, platforms, access to truth, and yet we still choose comfort over discovery. Fix the algorithms that don't show us the truth. They show us the perceptions they want us to reloop. So I'm asking you to do something uncomfortable. Talk to someone you disagree with and don't try to win, just listen. Because democracy doesn't fail when we disagree, it fails when we stop listening. Correct every incomplete perception. Get to know your conservative neighbor and your liberal neighbor as human, not the spawn of Satan. Understand that Democrat and Republican are wings on the same bird, and wings that refuse to move together don't fly, they fall. Thank you.
You guys are doing great. Keep it up. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Danya Harding. I am an educator and the program specialist for Natomas Unified School District. Today I'm here with students from our Youth Leadership Academy. The Youth Leadership Academy is the result of a partnership between our district and APAPA, where students don't just learn about civic engagement, they participate in it. They conduct research, consult with community leaders, and take real-world action. Our students have been recognized on the local, state, and national levels for their work. They're here today to present their views on the rule of law and the American dream. I am extremely proud to be here with Tanaya Safi, Reyes Rios, and Sidharth Arora.
Hello, my name's Tanaya Safi, and I will be talking about the pursuit of the American dream. I was sitting in a stranger's living room when I heard something that changed everything for me. I was filming my documentary, Dreamers Deferred, interviewing a young DACA recipient, and then, her voice shaking, she looked at me and said, "I've built my life here, and I just don't think it's guaranteed." That moment, that feeling of uncertainty, is exactly why we gather here on Law Day. Every May 1st, we come together to celebrate the rule of law and the legal system that holds this country together. You see, most people talk about the American dream as if it's a trophy, waiting at a finish line if you just worked hard enough to claim it. But the dream doesn't promise a finish line. It promises a pursuit, the right to strive without a guarantee of arrival. But we have to be honest. The reality is, the world doesn't give everyone an equal starting point. Some of us start miles ahead, while others start behind barriers they didn't build. This is where the rule of law becomes the great equalizer. It is the fundamental idea that no person is above the law and every person is held to the same standard. It creates fairness where life does not, ensuring that the ability to pursue a future is a right, not a privilege. I saw this in my parents' journey from India, and I saw it again in that living room. Without the rule of law, the pursuit of happiness is just a gamble. When the law wavers, the dream wavers. It becomes a mirage that disappears the moment you get close to it. The rule of law is what turns that shaky voice into a confident one. To uphold the law, we must do more than just interpret it. We must work towards creating a system in which the law does what it's supposed to: protect. Every time the law is upheld, you are steadying the hand of someone like my interviewee. You are ensuring that the dream isn't just a story we tell, but a reality we protect. The American dream is a powerful engine, But the rule of law is the track it runs on. If we let the track break, the dream has nowhere to go. Because without the rule of law, the American dream isn't a promise. It is a gamble. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Reyes, a junior at Leroy Greene Academy. When people talk about the American dream, they usually think of personal success and stability. It's the idea that America is a democracy where if you work hard, you can make it. But honestly, this version of the dream feels incomplete. The problem isn't whether or not the American dream exists, it's that we need to redefine it. What if this dream isn't just about individual success? What if it's about building a dream democracy? A democracy united around human prosperity, one that fights for the average American instead of a political party. At the center of that dream is the rule of law, which means everyone, including our leaders, must be held to the same standard and be treated equally. A pivotal moment came for me after I wrote an article about the harrowing experiences of immigrant youth with ICE. As the piece spread, hate filled the comment sections, with people calling me a dumb, radical leftist who wanted open borders, which showed me how divided we have become. Where simply speaking up for my classmates and community made me an un-American social pariah in one group and an engaged citizen in another. Yet, recognizing these holes in the state of our current democracy isn't failure, it's progress. A dream democracy doesn't mean everyone agrees. It means that we can agree with each other or respect one another enough to make compromises for the sake of our country's future. A Pew Research study found that 73% of Republicans and 65% of Democrats see those in the opposing party as immoral. As division replaces mutual respect, we weaken the rule of law. The American dream, as we know it, has long been centered around the question, what is possible for me? It's time for us to start asking what is possible for us. Law Day is a time to reflect on how the rule of law protects our freedoms and strengthens our democracy. The truth is, creating the dream democracy won't happen by chance. It requires action. Because the American dream was never just meant to be a belief, it's a responsibility. And its future depends on what we choose to build together.
Good afternoon, my name is Sidharth. The American dream is supposed to be equal, so why does it feel different depending on who you are? We grew up hearing that America promises three things: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So I ask, has America truly fulfilled that promise? For some, yes. For others, like me, the answer is more complicated. I stand here today as an LGBTQ student, and as someone who once questioned if something was wrong with me, if I was different in a way that made me less deserving of belonging. I remember a moment when I realized how heavy that feeling could be, when I had to pause before speaking about who I was, not because I was unsure, but because I was afraid how it would be received. In that silence, I learned something important. Maybe the issue was not who I was, but the environment I was in. Because when someone feels they must hide who they are just to be accepted, that is not individual failure. That is a question about equality. And I ask this. When was the last time we heard an LGBTQ student speak openly about this, without hesitation, without fear, in a space like this? The pursuit of happiness is supposed to be a right, but for many, it begins with a fear. Fear of exclusion, fear of judgment, fear of losing belonging simply for being honest. Is that liberty? Or is it freedom that only exists under certain conditions? The rule of law means that no one is above the law, and that everyone is treated equally under it. It should exist to protect people's rights and ensure that everyone has the ability to live openly and pursue their dreams without fear or discrimination. It protects their right to exist fully and equally. Law Day is a time to reflect on how the rule of law protects our rights and the freedoms, and how it should continue to guide us toward a more equal society. And still, I believe in this country because democracy is not finished. It is something we shape. So, has America fulfilled its promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Not yet. But it can. When no one has to question if they belong, hide who they are, feel like they have to earn their place. That is the American dream worth fighting for. Thank you.